This is Rob. This is Brian.
This is Eric. Now you're talking about the guy that gets chopped in half by Crowley with the hatchet. And now I saw that quick scene, and he's chopping him down, cutting his arm off at the shoulder.
Yeah, that was Richard Greeley you'd see him in a ton of movies. He plays so many roles. Notably, he's in Office Space. He does the jump to conclusions bit in that. You see him in the movie Casino, acting against Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci. He was like the banker.
Yeah.
He's been in a ton of movies. You'll see him all the time. Like, I had a conversation with him when we were doing a movie one time. He was talking about one of his first movies that he's working on. He was working with John Wayne.
Really?
Just doing whatever he was doing in the movie. But I don't remember the entire story, but he said, like, at one point in time, like, the day was over and John Wayne invited him and a few other people to his yacht.
Wow.
Where
Must be nice.
Where they just kind of went and hung out for the weekend or whatever. Fucking hey, John Wayne. You know?
We're out for the weekend, hanging on my yacht.
But yeah, so like Richard really got chopped in half, and that gag, Buechler designed that gag, and it worked out pretty good. So it was just pretty much like building a shirt where you build another shoulder in place to separate off of, as opposed to standing shoulder out straight towards the camera. He stood at an angle, so this off piece of shoulder now is the new angle that shows both shoulders, and his real shoulder is off to the side.
Yeah.
So when you see it, his head blocks his actual shoulder, so you'll never see his actual shoulder. You just see the dummy shoulder that is getting cut off.
And because the scene was cut short that I was watching, did he get cleaved all the way in half and his shoulder thrown away, or did it just show him getting chopped down to a certain spot and then they stop?
No, he got cleaved all the way from the top of his right shoulder all the way through to just above the left side of his pelvic section. So It came diagonally across his body. And so after he gets chopped, the next shot is a wide shot of Mrs. Permadio running towards camera.
Yes.
And you see Crowley finishing that kill, and you just see him like whip the top half of Mr. Permadio's body to the side into the bushes and stuff as he runs at Mrs. Permadio.
Okay, so that was part of the scene. I want to say that scene that I had quickly watched stopped the chopping part, and then they must have cut out a little bit because it went right to the shot where he's finishing off the body and he's chasing after her and does her kill, because they were showing a bunch of different kills. One of the ones being the sex kill.
Yeah, you can go on YouTube and they have videos dedicated to Crowley's kills where it's like you can watch his kill count and it goes through all the movies. And you can see all the kills from all the Crowley movies and stuff, which literally I should just take that and just post that as a resume. You know, it's just like, it's nuts.
You kids at home, don't go looking for Crowley porn, because there is none.
Well, yet now. Yeah. Someone's going to be like, oh, that sounds cool. Let's get this deformed swamp monster out there. And yeah, no, they did it with Jason. I'm sure they've done it with Freddy. I'm sure they've done it with all the main slasher characters in some way or another. Like, some people are into it. You know, whatever. You know, have fun with it.
Whatever gets your thrills up.
So do you gravitate towards horror movies at all, Eric?
Not as much now as an adult as I did when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, when all this stuff was starting. Because the stuff that's out now basically is a rehash of the stuff that I watched as a kid. So I watched, you get the Halloweens, you get the Friday the 13th, the Psycho 2, Phantasm.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some other.
Chainsaw and
Chainsaw.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, you get all the early versions of that. And that's when I watched them, all the early versions. And then when everything got to 3, I wasn't watching them anymore, because at that point they were dull.
Yeah, I can respect that. I mean, the first time you see Michael Myers, in Halloween, you're like, what the hell is this? And then he kills a bunch of people, and you're like, fuck, this is amazing, know? And then you get to Halloween 2, and it's more of the same, and it's cool, And
the thing about, say we're talking about Halloween 2, it was almost a rehash of Halloween 1, except it was taking place in a hospital.
Yeah.
So it was slightly different. It was enough that, it's still the guy that we know. It's still scary. It's still the same night. You're still invested in it.
Yeah.
When I watched Friday the 13th Part 2, and this is before he got the hockey mask, he's wearing a sack.
Yeah.
And I think he found out that he wasn't the killer in the first one. It was his mother.
Well, you found out at the end of the first one that his mom was the killer.
Yeah. And now, and so you're going to the second one, and now you're getting Jason. So now it's a brand new thing for us.
Yeah.
Because, now we're getting Jason. And then Halloween 3 in 3D, as far as I'm concerned, was the penultimate.
Oh, you mean
Friday
the 13th 3
in 3D. And then after that, I stopped watching that series.
Well, quick thing, Friday the 13th 3 was when Jason got his hockey mask.
Yes.
And that's what gave him that new dimension that defines him today.
Right. And at that point, for me, I was like, okay, this may be the end for me. We'll see if when 4 came out, that's what I was saying. Oh, no, 3 was the end for me. I don't know if I'm going to watch 4. I think I went and saw 4 anyways. I didn't see 5 or 6 in the theater. I might have just caught them on television or cable. Same with 7. And then at that point, I stopped watching. Same with Nightmare on Elm Street. I watched the first 2 because I thought they were great. And then after that, I'm like, okay, I'm pretty much done. Because I'm aging out now. I'm aging out of the slasher genre where it's fun. Now, if I'm watching it, I'm wanting to see a good story, not just gratuitous kills, because as a teenager, I got a ton of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a big difference when it comes to the generational gaps and stuff. And it's like our generation, we're in the same generation, but just on different sides of it.
Yes.
You came from watching a lot of movies where they were complete. They weren't just a sideshow thing where it's like, come see the bearded lady or something like that. It was, you're watching movies that have a beginning, middle, and end. You're watching Hitchcock movies. You're watching early Spielberg, like Jaws and stuff like that. So when it comes to like slasher movies, Halloween, Jason, Nightmare on Elm Street, you're watching it. It's more of a spectacle for you guys at that point in time where you're just like, oh, let's just see how cool this is. And it's kind of fun to watch this guy run around in makeup and these kills happen and everything. But at a certain point in time, I can see where it kind of like the charm kind of fades away from it because they're doing the same stuff essentially, but with a couple new fangled cool things in there too, because your background is more of the storytelling of things as opposed to the explosion of gore and violence.
Even as a kid, Halloween wasn't that gory. There was gore. The guy knifed to the door. There was gore, but it wasn't like blood was spurting. But that was the genesis when they realized that kids are going to come to the theater to see this. And then you get Friday the 13th, and kids are going to come to the theater to see this. And then now you get part 2 of all these things. Now, part 1s of all these movies, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, all these movies, part 1s, were excellent. You see them, and you're like, these are excellent. So you're right away when you hear the part 2s coming out, you're going to go want to see them. Especially when you're a kid, 18, 19 years old. I want to go see them.
Well, the point that I was making on this was that the differences between us and our age gap is that you saw movies when they first came out on the first movie. So Halloween, Friday the 13th, A Nightmare on Elm Street. There was no part 2. There was no part 3. You were around for those. By the time I got into movies, I was in Friday 3, Nightmare 3. All the 3s, that's where I was at, where I was starting at. So it was like, oh, this is cool. And this is the way it's supposed to be done. It's supposed to be crazy and all this fun stuff happening and stuff. But by the time I came in watching this stuff, you guys were like, this is old hat. It's whatever it is. And you're not as impressed as you were with the first movies.
Yeah, because now I'm 25. You're 15.
Yeah.
Now these movies, and I'm not going to say these are horrible movies, but now I've grown out of that spectacle. They've already geared it towards my age bracket when it started. They go, oh, these guys will like it. Great. They didn't think that these guys would like it 10 years later. They just thought these guys are going to like it. And then you came along and you liked it.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, they still like it. Well, we got noticed, so we don't like it as much. We like it different.
Well, I mean, it's part of the whole thing where, like, they're targeting age demographics and stuff as well.
So now they have the new group of kids, which is you, and now they're taking it further. See, and it's a guy was talking about this on something I was watching, and they were talking about Aliens. And Alien, another, for lack of a better word, sci-fi horror, it got us. So when Alien 2 came out, it was not the same as Alien 1, but it kind of was, but it was ramped up to 10.
Yeah, Aliens versus Alien. Alien was a creepy. You're isolated in space. It's very claustrophobic and dark and dirty and all that. And Aliens turns out to be an action film.
Alien was, for its lack of a better term, it was a slasher flick because the alien is stalking these people and they're getting interesting kills. When it gets to Aliens, and now it's like, okay, we know what this thing can do. We're going to send the Marines in, and it's going to be a big action flick, and we got to find these people. But the elements of Alien is still working in Aliens, except now you have people with guns that can fight back, and they're still losing. And then when it gets, you come in, now you're young enough that you're getting Alien, and it's an action movie, and that's perfect for you as a 15-year-old. Because if I was 15 years old and saw Aliens, I'd be like, oh, this is the greatest movie in the world.
And you're exactly right, because the first time I saw any Aliens movies was Aliens.
Yeah, and that was played to death. I remember when I had a cable, played to death. So kids saw that. So I would imagine you're watching that over and over again. And then if you did see Alien, you probably thought Alien was dull.
So I saw Aliens in the theater when I was a kid. I had a babysitter that loved to go see movies, and she took us to go see Aliens, and it was great. And then when I did see Alien, I was like, this movie's boring the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was a kid at the time when I saw Alien. I was just like, it was too slow for me.
Yeah.
It's like, you see a chest burster scene, you see some of the aliens coming out towards the end and everything like that, and it's great. It's cool. But it just, like, the entire movie as a whole could not compare to, like, my 13-year-old mind when I was watching Aliens.
And I get it, because I remember seeing Alien, and I was like, oh man, they did it. They knocked it out the park with this one. This is great. And then watching Alien again, and I'm like, oh, these are two different styles of movies.
Yeah.
It's the same subject, but these are two different styles. Not making a horror movie, can't make a war movie.
Yeah, I completely appreciate the first Alien movie as I got older and love it. I love Alien. I love Aliens. But yeah, they're completely two different genres of movies. They're both horror. One's like suspense horror.
Yes.
And the other one's action horror. And I always gravitate towards the action stuff.
Alien was disturbingly creepy, whereas Aliens was action. It was, like Eric said, it's a war movie. It just happens to be that there's aliens in it.
And because of because I can't remember.
And a queen alien.
I can't remember.
And a robot.
When Aliens came out. I want to say that was 84?
85.
85. So there was a 4 to 5 year gap. Because I want to say Aliens came out in 79.
Yeah, I would have been, 9 years old seeing Aliens.
But now Aliens comes out in that group of movies of action horror. Friday the 13th, Part 2, Part 3, Nightmare on Elm Street. Part 2s, Part 3s, Aliens. That's right in, and Terminator 2. All these are right into now your age bracket to hook you in for your first movies. And it's at that point, they're like, well, we've changed the movies a little bit because we're going to grab our older audience and kind of drag them along for this next, because we want their money, to drag them along for these next movies. So, we all went to see Aliens. We all went to see Terminator 2. A lot of us went to see Nightmare on Elm Street 3. And Friday the 13th, I know I saw Friday the 13th in the theater because it was 3D. And I was like, oh, this isn't that good, until the arrow shot went into the camera. And I remember going, oh, that's a great kill. I'm down for 2 more movies. But then, you get to a point where you grow out of it. And then now it's your turn to fall in love with these movies and take it up to the next generation. And then it's going to get to the point where you slow down on them and another generation takes the mantle from you.
Yeah, and I've had this discussion with many friends about things, and I've always said, when they're complaining about Star Wars movies, Indiana Jones movies, any of those movies that we grew up with that are coveted, even the first Marvel set of movies all the way up until Endgame, I'm like, the original trilogy, those are my movies. And the original Indiana Jones trilogies, those are my movies as well. The first set of Marvel movies all the way up until Endgame and all that stuff happens, those are my Marvel movies. And it's just about identifying the fact that everything's going to move on, that they're not making movies just for me anymore, and that they're reaching new audiences. You're welcome to come and watch these movies too, but they're not catered towards you anymore. And that's what a lot of people need to understand when it comes to these things, is that it's just, you're passing the torch on to a new generation. It's, you have your movies, you watched your movies, it's now someone else's turn and someone else's time to watch the movies and enjoy them in the way that they want to.
And some people will transition. Some of these things will carry the core group. So you got 100 people that like XYZ. Okay, now that's changed. They've changed in mid-stride, and now 50 people like XYZ, because the other 50 have kind of grown out of it. So they'll keep it, and then it moves to the next one. Now 25 people like XYZ. People still like it and are still going to kind of look at it. When the horror movies come out, I'll always look and see, oh, what's this horror movie about? But now it went to the found footage genre. When Blair Witch Project came out, and I remember I saw Blair Witch Project in the theater, and I was like, it's all right. Then all the movies were found footage. Now all the movies are some kind of doll or a person pretending to be a child. It's
I don't know. I mean, for the most part, it's like, when Blair Witch Project came out, people saw that it was working, and all the studios kind of like, oh, we should just do a lot more found footage stuff. So it's like, you got Blair Witch, and then you got Cloverfield, and then you had like all kinds of other things. They made a sequel to Blair Witch as well,
which wasn't as good, by the way, folks.
I haven't even seen it. But then you had like a bunch of Japanese movies that were being remade for the longest time, like The Ring and The Grudge and all that stuff. And it's just all these trends happen where something comes out, everyone sees that it's working, and then they all jump on it. They all do something similar to it.
Yeah.
And just keep going. And unfortunately, it's not what I'm into as much. And so therefore, I just have to kind of wait this out until that tide goes down again and something else comes along.
It seems like it's moving back towards gore. I see a lot the gore is coming back, but now a lot of the gore that I see aren't practical effects. A lot of gore is digital effects. I'm like, it's not like the old. And
it's not the same. Yeah, practical is real. Even though it's a puppet or a puppet with human hands helping it, it's real and tangible. And Rob and I have had this conversation that even back in the old days of the shop, we'd get young kids that would come through the shop. And I remember one time in particular, it was a group of kids that came in, and the Mummy movie had come out, or the second Mummy movie or something came out that had all the CG Yetis playing football or something.
Yes.
And the kids were complaining about dropping $18 for a movie ticket to watch a cartoon. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, this is coming from 18-year-old kids, and they're preaching to the choir. And it's like, yeah, if you're going to, and I'll throw in the new Planet of the Apes films with all the apes are digital and done well, the whole movie should be digital. The human elements and everything as well. Like, it works for Shrek. Why can't it work for Planet of the Apes? Because it's more immersive if it's all the same. But when you're splitting it where half of it's digital and half of it's live action, the live action stuff in the case with the apes is kind of boring and dull.
Well, it's when it comes to like the Planet of the Apes movies, I think they're done well, and I think they're done well enough to make that story happen. But the other thing too is that, it's when certain productions make a movie and their benchmark is the spectacle of what they're doing, it just kind of comes down to that old adage of like, just because you can do it doesn't necessarily mean you should.
Right.
And doesn't necessarily mean if you do it, it's going to be any good.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many movies. We went through like the late 90s all the way up until like 2008, where we had like the worst CG digital shit that came out in movies. And you watch it now and you're just sitting there going like, oh my God, this stuff is unwatchable, because it's literally, you can almost see pixels in some of this stuff. It was just one of those things where people thought they can do it better by being cutting edge and having this amazing CG. And the thing is that a lot of productions now will underestimate their audiences. And their audience know the difference between all this stuff. They know when they're watching CG and stuff, because when people come out, and they're not talking about how cool the story was, they just talk about how shitty the CG was. The fact that they know these terms is just showing you how smart your audience is at this point. And you're trying to say like, hey, look, it's not digital, wink, wink. It's, so
you just brought up something that when the first Jeepers Creepers movie came out, Victor and everybody on the crew, we went to several theaters in and around Hollywood to watch it with a real audience opening weekend, so that we can get a real audience reaction. And I remember a gal that was sitting near us, when they showed a close-up of the creeper, she goes, oh, look, he's wearing contact lenses. And I was like, oh, man, that's what you see? That's what you get out of this shot or this scene, is he's wearing contact lenses. They're like, oh, man.
Yeah, if they can see it, then, anything that takes them out of the movie is going to be the thing that you're dealing with.
It could be the smallest thing.
Now that a lot of makeup artists work hand in hand with the digital departments to fix things. My days on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we were hand in hand with the digital department saying, okay, definitely got to fix this or smooth that or whatever. And it was a team effort. So if a particular makeup effect or prosthetic makeup wasn't necessarily working correctly, or in a case, one guy I did a makeup on, he had no eyes. It was just a smooth forehead of, his eye sockets were smooth. They went from his forehead into his cheeks. But the actor still needed to see where he was going during the day, so they would digitally remove the eye slits or eye specks or whatever he was seeing out of.
Yeah.
So yeah, it works hand in hand. I want to say Bill Corso was one of the first guys to start like a makeup digital assessment company that works hand in hand with the digital departments to make sure that it's a smooth transition.
Yeah, I mean, I love seeing a movie where practical and digital can work side by side and be great. It's always when you get something that's a little bit more heavy-handed, where they get heavy-handed with the digital stuff, that you start seeing that as digital. I mean, I've been on shows where they have the digital supervisor sitting on set, and they're always standing there in Video Village watching everything, looking at the monitors and stuff. Okay, cool, we can remove this. Oh, we'll remove that and stuff. And I'm just sitting there going like, why don't you just move that out of the way right now while we're shooting?
Exactly.
There was a sequence that happened on a movie one time where there was a C-stand sitting off to the side. They wanted to go so fast and keep moving. Oh, we'll remove that in post. I'm like, no. And they're like, no, we're going to go. Okay, everyone get in your position. And I ended up walking out onto set and halting set for a good 8 seconds, grabbed the C-stand and moved it 3 feet out of the shot. And like, there, you don't have to fucking have a digital shot anymore.
No, then you're taking the job away from someone that has to feed his kids.
Yeah, he cheated somebody out of $1,200.
Yeah.
It's just, to me, I'm just like, these are not tools that you need to rely on to cover your fuck ups and shit. It's a matter of using the tools where they're needed. If you're orchestrating and painting the picture of this shot and it needs this and you can't get it there practically, that you need some digital help in that, that before you ever roll camera.
Yeah.
You're going to be using some of this at a certain point in time, but not use it to be like, I need to remove that C-stand that someone left there or something like that. If you're watching your dailies and you see a C-stand in the shot and there's nothing you can do with it because this scene was shot 3 days ago, then you're like, oh, we're probably going to have to remove that digitally or something. That's great. But if you're like in that situation where the director is sitting there, okay, we're about to roll, we're good, we'll we'll remove it in post. We need to keep moving now. It's like, no, move the freaking thing. It's just, I'm just like,
And that goes hand in hand with how things have changed in our movie watching taste to how movies are made today. So older people are going to be of the old school. Let's just move it out of the way now. Get it out of the way. And younger people are going to be like, oh, we have this new technology. Don't worry about it. We'll take it out. You're going to pay me, but we'll take it out later in post. And as we get older, and that's going to die away, where the thought process is, oh, let's fix it right now. Instead of having to fix it in a month, we can fix it right now. That's going to die away because we're getting older and we're dying away. There's only so many people that are of the age to remember how it was done easier and better. And now you're getting to, this is how it's done now, the digital way, because we're young and we're exciting. We can work on computers. This is the way we want to do it, when there's an easier way to do it. But that's going away because now they think this is the easy way to do it.
Yeah, but the one thing that I learned over time is the fact that it's like you can do things the easy way or you can do things the hard way. And sometimes the hard way is the way that looks way better and tells a better story.
Yeah.
I mean, once again, the old adage, just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean you should do it.
Exactly.